Booking by Bonds is
Oh,
a
God,
huge Team
Bonds
Taz mark
love
for sure.
Team Taz. My
So we got to talk
gosh,
about
you love Team Taz.
we got to talk about a quick Team Taz promo and then Hangman's response. It was surprising, in typical Team Taz fashion. Their eerie orange light promos, but I was surprised that they kind of like picked on Ricky Starks. Like, what are you doing? Get your head out of your butt. Essentially, like, you left him hanging. You caught, how is Hobbs going to beat these guys 1-on-2? But then ultimately we got the challenge made for Hangman versus Hobbs next week. Hoss versus Hoss almost. And where we're going to see, I think we'll finally see Cage, which we're anxious to see, make another appearance. And I do not want to be in Ricky Starks' shoes after slapping the out of Brian Cage. That slap was heard around the arena, I'm sure, and then some. That was quite the slap to the face that Starks gave Cage. But this episode of Dynamite was so great because there's so many different storytelling, so many different feuds. And this was another one. I was looking at the match card with Bonds in our pre-show, and you look at everything on the card, there's no kind of like crossover feuds. Everything was like its own standalone. And sometimes we get the blend of like 2 Team Taz matches, 2 Elite matches, 2 Inner Circle Pinnacle matches, but it was all standalone, and that just shows how deep of a roster.
They're ready for Rampage, bro.
Yeah,
they're
deep
ready.
of storytelling that they got, and this was another element of it. I mean, we didn't have, Hangman and the Dark Order and Team Taz, like, that's such a vital part to AEW, and it was barely featured on the show, in a show that was so strong tonight. And so Hangman versus Hobbs next week, or coming up, is going to be great story, and I really hope we really start to push much faster than we want Brian Cage turning on Team Taz, because I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah, Brian Cage as a face is going to be a home run. I mean, we know that's going to happen. SPD, I feel like the way this promo played out, you mentioned you were surprised that they went in at Ricky Starks. For me, Hobbs went in after Ricky Starks, right? And this goes into what Booking by Bonds has talked about, where it's like Hobbs saw Ricky, their drama, Team Taz's inner drama, left him hanging in a 2-on-1 match, and he lost, and he had to take some powerful moves in the process, I'm sure. So Hobbs called it out. Watching it back and having fresh, allowing myself this morning, having a little cup of coffee and thinking about it, Taz kept directing it away from that. And I think that there's a lot of like, what I see is going to happen next week, at least from an outside looking in on the way this story is going to go. I do think that you're right. Brian Cage is going to get it. I think this match was presented as a 1-on-1, man-to-man match between Hobbs and Hangman. I think Ricky Starks can't avoid being Ricky Starks, and he's going to get in, he's going to come out, and it's going to get involved, and Cage is then going to come ringside. And then again, it's going to further this story that Bonds talked about in his Booking by Bonds segment, that Hobbs is almost negatively impacted by the drama of his team that he called out this week, and he's going to get tired of it. And so I think that there's, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, that is going to be a money feud. When you have a guy like Starks who can talk the way he can talk, and a guy like Cage who can walk the way that he can walk in the ring, that's going to be a home run. But I see the way that the writing is on the wall. The writing is on the wall for this one, folks. And it's obvious that the way that they're going to play out Team Taz falling apart is Hobbs is going to get sick and tired of him taking the L's because of his teammates fighting with each other. You got Starks and Cage immediately set up against each other. I feel like Hook is going to be loyal to Starks, and then they're going to break off and do their own thing. You got Hook who can always just be in the segments and help Starks out. Cheap shots. I like that. I like what Team Taz is building here. And SPD, we talk about the way that AEW books long-term storytelling. This is going to be a feud. This is the falling apart of Team Taz has been going on for a long time.
Yes, it has.
And I think that now we're starting to see it makes sense why we're on the precipice of it, why we're so excited for them to rip the Band-Aid off and just let it go. I think that when you get to see Cage finally emerge as that babyface, it's going to be money. Live crowds for Cage when he's going head-to-head against Team Taz is going to be
go over.
on point.